When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those barbecues you plan in detail for your family? Or your daughter's first costume party? It was out of this world. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
You're an example.
And then after that, then head coach. Try to answer the questions. And,
It's not all.
Not one coach.
no, she said, one coach would look me in the eye.
So how much time do you need, and we'll have to look at that.
They know.
Is it your birthday?
Nope.
Is it his birthday?
I think it is.
Oh, I don't think so.
I think I read that.
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure.
38?
Happy birthday.
38.
38? Again?
Again. My 10th anniversary of being 38.
Nice.
Nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is 6 o'clock. And welcome to the August 21st board meeting for the Monticello District 882. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on our agenda is approval of the tentative agenda. And before we move to that action item, I want to make note that policy committee has been meeting, and we have 4 policies that we're going to withdraw from the agenda today and bring back in September. So we're going to postpone and modify the agenda by removing policy number 527, 516, 509, and 524.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended by the chair.
Motion made by Jeff Hegley to approve the amended agenda,
Second.
seconded by Melissa Curtis. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. We have no citizens' comments. We have no citizens' comments this evening. Moving on to fiscal stability, we have our consent agenda items, approval of the minutes, personnel matters, and then bills, P-card, Amazon card, and wires. Members received all of these documents last week and had opportunity to review them and ask any questions. This is a consent agenda. We move these together as a combined item.
So moved.
Motion made by Melissa Curtis, seconded by Jamie Sieben. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say no. And consent agenda passes 6-0. Moving on to collaborative connections, we have some donations that Superintendent Olson is going to discuss.
All right, so we have our first 3 donations are for the Back to School Bash. Back to School Bash this Wednesday, so we hope to have another amazing turnout. I know that Clay Sawatsky, Sarah Welk, and Cody from Polaris Chiropractic have been working very hard on the Back to School Bash, and we're excited for the second annual event here. Sunny Days Therapy for $1,000, Lock Jewelers for $500, and Polaris Chiropractic for $500. I'll go into that Back to School Bash. JAT Restaurants for $500 for the Resilience Conference sponsorship. We still have sponsorships coming in for that resilience conference, and so there'll be a few more coming up in the next board meeting.
So we have a resolution for acceptance.
Therefore, it be resolved by the Monticello School Board number 882 to gratefully accept the following donations: Sunny Days Therapy for $1,000, Block Jewelers for $500, Polaris Chiropractic for $500, and JAT Restaurants for $500.
Seconded.
Motion, resolution read by Jeff Hegley, seconded by Jamie Sieben. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Resolution passes 6-0. And we have a little bit of a sad farewell to attend to tonight. Clay Swatsky, who has been our communications director and board liaison, is moving on to a new position. And so we're very sad to see him go. He's been our parliamentarian. He's been our gopher. He's been the guy who works late getting all of our documents put together and transmitted out, and has just been our right hand every step of the way. Clay, we're not happy to see you leaving, but we understand that the commute will be better for you and your family.
I'd just like to acknowledge the work that I've been able to see firsthand Clay has brought to our district. He brings a passion for Monticello. He brings a passion for education. He understands our community, I think, better than anybody in the community. You can navigate big things that we have, whether they're pandemics or whether school start time change right now. Lots of different big items that he's been able to navigate and navigate by hitting the mark. And not a lot of school districts can say that they hit the mark as close to 100% as I think that we do, and that's really because of his deep knowledge of our community and education itself. As a strategic planner, he is just an amazing contributor to our cabinet, our admin team. When there are challenging situations going on, whether it's 2 in the morning with concern, and we're talking with people that, or we're planning for snow closing. He has just a way of listening to the stakeholders who are planning for those big events. He can speak in that voice and just deliver a message that is so clear and really at ease if it's something challenging, or makes people feel excited if it's something like a strategic plan. A lot of people don't know this, but my wife is still chewing me out, asking me what did I do when I saw the Osseo posting and knew it was 2 miles away from his house. And I'm like, oh, Clay, you always talk to me about work-life balance, and you're helping me, and you're be in that school district your kids are. But your kids go to Lily and Jackson go to school there. I said, but please don't go. And he goes, no, I could never leave you. Well, he went into his office, and about 10 minutes later, he came back in. He said, maybe I should. So, and I just stayed there that night and wanted to make sure he knew how important he was to me. Of course, I think he knows we're not only colleagues, but definitely very close friends. So it's just been amazing to work with. He makes me a better person, a better man. I appreciate him tomorrow.
I think a lot of people maybe don't recognize, too, that Clay's job when he moved into it was custom built for him. It didn't exist before Clay was there. It was a lot of people doing a lot of different tasks, and he pulled them all together masterfully in a way that nobody could have predicted how well it worked out. And when you talk about, being fiscally responsible, he's probably doing the job of 3 different people. We're very lean for admin in this district, I think, and that's one of the things that the board, I know, is very proud of, that we don't have a lot of slush at the top. So thank you, Clay, for everything that you've done for us and for the board. As your second hat, it wasn't even your primary hat. So we have a couple of little gifts for you.
I think we should get a picture with him with his big picture up there. That'll be awesome.
I think so, too.
He's always been on the other side of the camera, and now today he gets to be.
There's a lot of hair in that picture.
Don't get my daughter started.
On behalf of the board, we have a certification. It's maybe not very simple. know if it.
And then, I mean, principals, directors, you always know that when you come here, there's gonna be some swag in the bag. And when you leave, we don't have to know where Clay's heart is, so he'll be wearing that underneath his shirt. But this one is a different color, so he is gonna be sporting the next school district color so that he can look good on that. On this first Friday, you gotta be ready for casual Fridays.
I do, yeah. Yeah, my red black, yeah, I'm gonna upgrade. Change those, not upgrade.
So,
Yeah. Be very brief, but I would be very remiss if I didn't just say a huge thank you to everyone here. So many of the people here today have been invaluable in who I am today as a professional and as a person. Coming to this district 6 years ago was an incredible opportunity. I'll never forget. I was sitting here covering a board meeting at the paper, and they created a new position for a community communication, marketing, and enrichment coordinator. And Gary Revning came up to me. I don't know if Gary's here tonight. No, classic. Gary came up to me after the meeting and just said that they thought that would be a great fit for it. And man, I couldn't be happier that all came to be the way it was. And working under the leadership of Superintendent Olson has been the greatest gift that I could have ever asked for. And I've learned so much from him, the rest of cabinet, the board. I've been so grateful to have such diverse experiences here and to really be able to widen my knowledge in areas that I never would have imagined, and with the grace and understanding needed to do it from everyone around me. So I'm so proud to have grown up in this community, to have been a part of this community, and have had the opportunity to work here. And even with moving to Osseo, I'll always be a part of this community, and I'm really grateful for that. So thank you all.
did you get a picture, Gavin? Awesome.
We're not betting against you or anything.
I think that's a beautiful set of circumstances to be moving on, is to be so beloved on your way out the door. So that's not something we can say necessarily about every person, but take good care of them, you guys. Bye-bye.
Oh, a magic
Magic
clap
clap.
on 3! 1, 2, 3! Woo! That's what we do here in Monticello at board meetings. Makes me see.
Well, moving on to C, now we have a happy introduction that we get to bring a new person into our district that we are very excited about, and a new person that has a lot of energy and enthusiasm for the new job. And so Superintendent Olson has the pleasure of introducing our new person.
Absolutely. Terry Whitworth comes with an amazing amount of experience and just energy about him, positive energy. And I do have to tell you, not too often, that you have somebody coming to you from Osseo. I don't know that that'll ever happen again in all our careers. But Terry comes to us from Osseo, and he works also had years at Elkhart, so it's nice in the ground position to be able to get somebody because then they understand how to make up those systems into our school, which is growing. We're getting, we're not small, but we're not big. So we know you can take what you learned at those big organizations and implement things that we haven't yet. But he likes to make sure that the relationships are built first, go slow. We have those pieces in place before major changes are happening. But I'll tell you, one of the things about an interview is with me, know that we stick to the science of the universe. But then if we have time, all of the questions at the very end, and we ended up having a follow-up question that was only from the district office waiting there to hear. And he was a little shy at first, but then he was like, "It's an interview, let's go for it." He went for it and just so we're excited to have you here. I heard you say one thing last week that maybe we talked about, and you said, "Well, I'm here today, it's my day too." So I don't know if I should be making any of those, but that's so what'd you like to say?
Yeah, just excited to be here. I think, like Eric said, I started out the bottom. I started out working nights. I worked my way up into a leadership role, and just excited to be here and help Monticello move forward in the next direction. I know you guys are big on innovation and technology, and like you said, hopefully I can. But Tina's going to hit me over the head because I came from Osseo, so any idea I had of spending money, I could come up with and implement it. So Tina's going to be kind of reining me in here a little bit, but excited to be here. I'm making connections all over the place, not only at the building level, but with admin here, and it's just, it's a nice energy to have. And I asked Clay I saw him in the hallway, I said, "So you used to that yet?" He's like, "Well, it's kind of weird. There's 30 people in the office here, and there's 400 in the office at Osseo. So a lot more intimate environment here where you can collaborate more one-on-one. And it's kind of like what you guys said. We're not only, we care about who you are personally, but how you are, professionally. So it's a nice, homey feel here, and it's very exciting to be here. So thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. So.
Welcome.
One of the things that I think we can all be proud of as the board and staff and parents and students is that when we post a job, we have a large number of highly qualified candidates to choose from, and not every district can say that. And so I don't remember exactly how many were in Terry's group, but there was a very large number of very highly qualified folks, all of whom, floated their way through the process, and Terry floated to the top. So Terry, welcome. And again, anything we can do to make your job more comfortable and your transition easier, please let us know. The board's here for you, and welcome. So moving on to teaching and learning, we're going to have a summer update from the Northwest Talent Academy folks and Ms. Severson. And ESY, Extended School Year, from Lana Tallenberg. You guys can just tag team it. Thanks very much.
Yes. I'm Janine Severson. I am the director of Northwest Talent Academy, which is a collaboration between 10 local districts around us to service gifted and talented students for summer programming.
And I'm Lana Talberg, the Assistant Director of Special Ed for the Sherburne and Northern Right Special Ed Cooperative.
Go ahead. We don't
Who's
have a
clicking
clicker.
this? Are you
Gavin
clicking?
is.
Okay. So I'll just start by saying we don't just plan for gifted and talented and special education. We also work together all school year, working on trying to just organize for the whole summer. And we tried to list some of the programs that are going on throughout the summer, but I know we forgot a few, including preschool, the early childhood family ed stuff. We've got Head Start going on over there. And so I'm looking at Jeremiah knowing we left a little bit off from Eastview, but these are just some of them. Like we just mentioned, the first two. What else am I missing? Yeah, you have lots of stuff, lots of stuff. Targeted service, 18 to 21, transition, credit recovery, Magic Adventures, birth to 3 evals, and then early childhood special education.
Go ahead,
So
Gavin.
we don't supervise all of those programs, but we try to organize what goes on throughout the planning process for those programs, along with the help of many of these people here.
Yes. So I'll talk a little bit first about NWTA. Go ahead, Gavin. So if you don't know, I kind of gave a little bit of a indication as to what it is, but we're dedicated to meeting the needs of our high potential learners that have been identified at the 10 different local districts that we collaborate with to offer fast-paced, unique, challenging, engaging educational opportunities in the summer months. So this was our 5th year, and this was one of our weeks and some of our students from this past summer. These are the lists of the 10 districts that we work with, and it is growing and changing. 2 years ago, Big Lake decided that they would like to take a step back, and then last summer they were like, nope, we want back. So they came back, and we are talking with other districts and have students from Sauk Rapids, Rice, Sartell, things like that. St. Cloud has talked with us, but that is a whole big jump and leap if we were to work with a district the size of St. Cloud. So right now, these are the districts that we work with, and we're very happy. It offers unique opportunities in a variety of different content areas through Harry Potter, music with ukulele, cooking with Cakeology. We had a Camping Crusaders class. We talked about rockets, motions, robots, a lot of technology mixed with the hands-on artistic development through classes that teachers within our 10 districts have come forth and given proposals for that we vetted, and they're the ones that are teaching what they're most passionate about, which is what makes the program work. So anybody can teach with our program within those districts. We have had people outside of our districts teach with us before, but it typically is teachers or paraprofessionals within our 10 districts. The students that can come are students that are nominated by our, not just the teachers, but the individual districts themselves have a process for nominating students for the programming that they offer within their districts, and those are the students that are nominated for our program. It's 4 weeks. We did this year 2 weeks in June and 2 weeks in July, and then it was nice, we had a nice break over the 4th of July, which gave not only the students a break, but it gave myself, Leanne Gertz, my sidekick, and all of our teachers and staff, supporting staff, a little bit of a break as well. This year, I updated the numbers, but they didn't quite make it on here. But this year, these were some of our numbers, except our enrollments were over 800, not 700. So it was our most successful year to date, and we're so excited about how well we did and are just looking forward to what's coming next for next year. These are some of the things that the kids had to say about the classes. And I know that this was sent out to you, so I'm not going to read all of these to you, but after every class, we ask the students for their feedback. And then at the end of the week, we ask the families for their feedback as well. And these were some of the things that the students had to say. They just really enjoyed it. Oftentimes, I'll just point this one out, making friends. That comes just as a bonus. It wasn't something that we ever really intended to be such a big thing, but for a lot of these students, they don't necessarily make connections with peers in their own schools throughout the school year, and this is a time where they're with other students that maybe are a little bit more unique and a little bit more like them, and they find a way to work with each other and have good friendships, and it's just fantastic to see. Go ahead, Gavin.
I enjoyed NWTA because I get to meet new people that are like me and have fun.
I like NWTA because I get to meet new friends and the classes are fun.
I like NWTA because there's a lot of room to be very creative.
I like NWTA because there's a lot of options for classes so you can do what you like to do.
I like NWTA because you get to meet new people and try new things.
I like NWTA because you get to explore your interests and collaborate with others.
There's lots of programs that can teach you how to do things, like the Code Space. It teaches you how to code. The Artist in You teaches you how to draw. Rockets, robots, and motion, you can make paper airplanes.
I like NWTA because they are all nice and it's fun.
I like NWTA because of the teachers. Pretty much everything I did was just fun. And I really want to come here every summer.
I loved going to NWTA because I learned a lot of new fun things and I learned a lot of new abilities that I would have never been able to achieve on my own. Thank you for helping me learn the skills of so many more art techniques, everything. Thank you.
Different types of feedback. Lots of improvements moving forward, which has been fantastic. We really appreciate it. Go ahead, Gavin. And one more. And there's just a little wrap-up video, and that's it. This was one of our classes, actually, stop motion.
Fun, thank you.
Send it over to you with all your
Stay by
stuff.
me, though.
Oh, I will.
Okay. So I always tell Janine that these are the kids of that they're our future. They're really going to be ruling our world. And I just feel so proud of our gifted and talented students in gifted and talented. And some of our students in special education also overlap and join Janine in her world. So extended school year is what ESY stands for, and that is our special education summer programming. Should I just do this when Okay. ESY is for students who are in special education. The purpose of ESY is to maintain skills, not necessarily to gain skills over the summer, but to maintain them. And it is something that even if you're in special education receiving services and on an IEP, you still have to qualify for that service. And I can't even read, but, yeah. So how does one qualify? These are the three ways and they all say one. These are all the one ways that you can qualify for special education ESY service, and that would be regression recoupment. What that means is if a child regresses a lot over a holiday break or over the summer, and they're not able to recoup those skills within a reasonable amount of time, then they would qualify based on that data for ESY service. Another way would be that they lack self-sufficiency. These are usually our students who have a lot of needs in their functional skills. They are more than likely cognitively delayed, and they need a lot of adult support assistance. And the last one is unique need. That would be for a student who is also on an IEP who maybe is receiving something for the very first time or learning a skill for the first time. An example might be a student who's just learning sign language, or maybe a little one who's just starting to verbalize at the end of May or toward the middle of May, and we don't want to lose that momentum. So we're able to qualify them under unique need. So those are the three ways that they can qualify for special ed ESY service. Now, kids that are in special education can also qualify for targeted services in the summer. So those that don't qualify under these three areas, a lot of them will still qualify under targeted services so that they're able to get something during the summer. The benefits for ESY, maintaining skills would be the first one. We don't want them losing skills over the summer. Maintaining routines so that they're still getting up in the morning and they're going to school and just maintaining those school routines. Relationships with their peers. This is really especially important when they're transitioning to a new classroom or a new school, such as going from elementary to the middle school or middle school to the high school. Relationships with staff. Some of our staff are the same staff that work during the school year, and so the more they can develop those relationships with those staff members, the better, or maintain those relationships that they've had during the school year. And then just the comfort of environment, and what I mean by that is students coming from Eastview up to one of the elementaries, it's very scary, or from elementary to middle school to high school. Those transitions are very scary. So if we're able to bring them into the school that they will be attending in the fall, they already start feeling a little comfortable with the environment that they'll be going into, and it's not quite as intimidating then to start school in the fall. So now I'm just going to move on. I would have put pictures and videos of our students, but there's a lot of stuff around confidentiality when it comes to special ed, so I did not do any of that. But I just wanted to run down what Janine and I do behind the scenes. And so the first time we met was in January, and we just started brainstorming. What are all the different things we have to talk about? And so this is really a list of everything we needed to talk about. The highlighted one is migrant programming, and that one we didn't have this year. That's why it's highlighted, because we took that one out this summer. But otherwise, these are some of the things we have to talk about. And we in our special ed world talk a lot about how planning for the summer is really like planning for a mini school year, because we have to do a lot of the same things. We have to talk about space. We have to talk about registration. We have to talk about space, construction in the buildings, summer construction in the community, transportation, technology, administrative support, the secure entrances. Eric's been a big help on that. I remember when I started here 15 years ago, doors were wide open in the summer. I'm like, how can this be safe? And when Eric came, then we changed that. So thank you to Eric. Food service. Tina helps a lot with that. The funding. I shouldn't have just put ESY, but funding really for all programs. Recovery credit, targeted service, the Eastview programs, and then Magic Adventures and any community ed. So then what we do, we pretty much try to meet at least once a month, if not every couple weeks, and we break it down. So we bring in the key players that we think we need to talk to about some given topics. So you can see who comes to each meeting, and then what we talked about. And so developing that registration form, the rate of pay, preps, stipends, all that kind of business. Administrative oversight, the safety, food, nursing, that was all with that team. And I just ran it through with each one of our meetings, basically what we talked about, so that you can see what we're doing behind the scenes and why we do what we do. Part of like developing those school calendars and aligning days is so that families that have multiple children in multiple buildings, we can line up their transportation to match and hopefully work it out with families to make it work well for them.
We're also looking too at, this year, we made sure that we only had services in our district Monday through Thursday, taking Friday off the table, which is a cost savings for our district because we're no longer running transportation a fifth day in the week. So even just having the ability to have that oversight from a district view vantage point of all the different services that we offer throughout the district and finding ways to collaborate and work smarter, not harder.
I would say that also came in with this board and Eric, because we used to run different weeks, we used to run different days, and it just was hard on our administrative team for supervision, and it was just hard on our custodians for cleaning, it was hard on our secretarial staff, it was just hard on everybody, and transportation, it was running all summer. And same with nursing, like, why would I need to hire nursing for special ed if we're already having nursing for the whole general population? And so smarter, not harder, working together really has mainstreamed a lot of that, and it's worked really well, having that work that way. We had to meet multiple times with transportation and custodial because things kept changing up until May. And so we had to continue to meet and talk about those things because even learning about parking lots and when we can do drop-offs and pickups and what doors and all those different things, we just had to continually talk about that because it continued to change. And then we met with Jason in technology to talk about devices and what would be needed for that.
And I think another thing to remember too is even just pulling all these people together is a feat in and of itself. Making sure that the right people are at the table having the conversations at the right time so that everybody's consistently hearing the same information. And if a question is raised by one person, chances are it's going to affect somebody else. So it's really good for them to be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. What can we do and how can we troubleshoot this and how can we make sure that this is taken care of? And so there's a lot of behind the scenes in between these dates of Lana and I coming together, putting an agenda, maybe going to one person, having a side conversation. Okay, here's the answers to the questions. So when we meet together as a team, we have these answers already in place. So,
and just getting really realistic about it. If we needed everybody for transportation and custodial for every building, it's just really almost next to impossible to get everybody to a meeting on those dates that we needed them. And so I thought you did a great job, Janine, just emailing in real time, like here's some of the things that came up. And we also kept a running document of notes with each meeting that was shared with every key player so that if they did miss a meeting, they could go back and read notes. Okay. And then
more of the same.
Yeah, it's just really more of the same. You can see, I'm just seeing, locker availability, that was one new one. I'm going to say her biggest challenge with NWTA was our biggest challenge as well. It's getting that response from parents. I think they get overwhelmed with so many different ways of communication, with things coming in the mail and things coming in email and it's just coming from every angle that I think at some point they just start ignoring some of it. And I think that's what happens with email sometimes. So I do like the idea of a text message coming on your phone, because in order for us to get the right count of how many are in each program, which then drives how many teachers we need and how many rooms we need and how many buses we need, and it just drives everything, how much food we need. And the registration is just such a big deal to know how many kids are coming, and that's the piece that we were just kind of begging for them to respond. We sent it out over and over and over and over to get responses. And And then, there's still things along the way where every single year, we've done this now for a few years.
Yep.
And every single year, we find things that we can improve upon with our communication, with our team, and only part of the team is here, but, just better ways to communicate so that we're all on the same page. And then it just brings us into May. Flip to the next one. And even when we got to the end in May, there was a May, either way, Janine and I, at the very end of the summer, we're still working on logistics and changes because then the Vietnam Memorial Wall came up, and how's that going to impact all of our programming? And there's kids and parents all over it. So just things like that just came up, and we just roll with it. So.
Find a way to make it work, so.
Yeah, and I think I missed a slide in there, but we also run pretty much the same weeks as you. But we only do 4 weeks for ESY, 2 in June and 2 in July. And then we let them have August free. And part of that is for, selfishly, it's hard to find teachers for August because people are taking family vacations, and we're already starting a whole bunch of back to school stuff. So that's pretty much it. So. All right. Thank you.
I just want to make sure that the board understands that you made kind of mention to it, but these two, their organization skills and the reason why they are leading our summer programming is because of the attention to detail is impeccable. And so the last 2 years, they have done they've done the district-wide planning. We might be there, but they are there leading us. And they have been chosen by me because of how good they are at this. And our summer programming is more unified than it's ever been. My name shouldn't have been mentioned. It should have been because of you two.
I have a quick question. So your 800 enrollments, so you actually had 800 people going through all of the various different programs, is that correct?
Those numbers are just from NWT. That's just my program with NWT.
That 800 enrolled, but 350 participated? Okay, all right.
They don't come all day long. They register for specific classes.
Yep,
So,
I got it. So logistically, can we accommodate all those who want to participate in the program or no?
By looking at different districts, is that what you're?
With the current ones that we have.
With the current ones we have, yes. The one thing, our biggest is our facts. There's so many that want to do something, either where the whole class in the kitchens and the fact space, or different classes have different. They want access to the one, but we've talked the last couple of years. What are our options? We can hot plates. We have chocolate microwave, and we made sure that, and then we walked across the hall after the classes were done. So we're finding to work. It would be nice space. We've talked about continuing to grow. Other districts have talked about aside river. We do have families that are coming from Zimmerman. That's a long haul. But there's a lot of to go behind the scenes figuring that out. Who's going to be overseeing all of the kids there and how it's going to look. So we're definitely program and just going to continue to grow, but finding the best way we're still.
They did.
I want to say a special thank you to both of you, Janine and Lana, for putting this program together in such a cohesive fashion, because I've been with the district for almost 20 years now with my kids coming up through, and people don't realize that back in the day you had to go to Maple Grove or Minneapolis if you wanted the NWTA type of enrichment opportunities in the summer. And the fact that we have them right here in our district is amazing to me, and that you've married up these programs to make best use of transportation and kitchen and all that stuff too. You really are to be commended for that, and thank you. And keep growing it, and if we can help you, just let the board know, because we're very supportive, I think, of all of these efforts. So thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or anything for our guest speakers? Okay, thank you again. Now we're moving on to item number A, under Innovation and Leadership. We're going to hear from our Director of Business Services, Tina Burkholder, about some of the changes with meal service pursuant to the new legislative free meals, et cetera. So thank you, Tina.
What is included in this is that we have one reimbursable breakfast and one reimbursable lunch that will be free to all students. And on the next slide, it talks about what is a reimbursable meal. So at breakfast, they're the same whether you're in elementary or secondary. So you can get a main entree, fruit and milk, but they have to take at least a half a cup of fruit for it to be counted as a reimbursable meal. And at the lunch time, it's a little different between elementary and secondary. The main entree, fruit, vegetables, whole grain, and milk is being served. But at the elementary level, they have to take at least a half a cup of fruit or veggies with their meal for it to be counted as a reimbursable meal. And at the secondary level, it has to be at least a cup of fruit or vegetables included in that meal. And so we try to combat from kids having to go back, or you try to have stuff at the cashier stand, like bags of carrots or apples, whatnot, that they can just grab and keep going through the line. And then what's not included, a carton of milk just on its own is not free. Any snack items or a la carte will be extra. If a student just wants another entree, a second slice of pizza, a second chicken sandwich, hamburger, whatnot, that would have a cost. A whole second meal would be charged as well. And then meals that do not have all the components of a reimbursable meal. So if the kid just got a piece of pizza and milk, they would be charged individually for that. And then meals served to adults would not be free. So the next slide has the prices. So for breakfast, a second entree would be $150, and then a second meal would be charged at the adult price, and that's according to state rules. It can't be what our old student meal prices would be. It has to be charged at the adult price. So a second breakfast would be $265. A lunch second entree would be $250, and then a second lunch would be $4.95, and then the milk is 65 cents. So if somebody came in with cold lunch and wanted a milk, it's 65 cents. They'd have to get all components of the meal to get a free milk. But if they just wanted milk, that's that. Next slide talks about if families should still fill out the free and reduced application. Absolutely. When they do that and they qualify, the students are eligible for other benefits, reduced class fees or activity rates. And it's really easy for families to do online through Infinite Campus. That would be the quickest way to see if you're approved or not, or they can do a paper application at our buildings and send it to the high school. Other important information is that our meals are only on scheduled school days, and they must be in person. If somebody's sick, they can't a family member couldn't pick up a lunch or a breakfast. And if it was like winter break, meals are not free. It has to be scheduled school days. And then another important thing to keep in mind is any families that have previous negative balances, they still need to settle those up with the school districts. So we're still working with families to make sure all those past negative balances are brought up to current. And then with our policy committee, we're still working on our unpaid meal policy to get some changes updated for that. For example, trying to figure out what the threshold would be for negative balances if students, wanted to get that second lunch or second entree, breakfast. We're trying to work with our head cooks and principals and our new food service director to see if we can do some different lines for a la carte so that we know that kids with positive balances can get those extra items because, some meals are just not, enough for somebody that's burning a lot of calories and has a good metabolism. So we're still in the planning stages of that, but hopefully we can get some of those kinks worked out in the first month. Any questions?
Any questions from anybody? Tina, thank you very much. For the parents that might be watching on the live stream, every school district in the state is going through an adoption of new procedures and things for the free lunch program. So I would just urge patience because everybody's trying to develop new systems and new methods for how we're going to take care of all this. So I'm confident we'll get there, but it might be a little bumpy for the first couple weeks until we get the learning curve in place. So,
Yep.
Any other questions for Tina? Comments? Thank you, Tina. Moving on to item number B, a highly anticipated vote this evening on school start time, whether or not we're going to move forward with changes in our district. And this has been a very long process for those that may not have followed the whole thing. It's been at least a year and a half.
Just shy of a year.
Oh, it feels longer than that. We're talking about it even before the work group formed. So for anyone that might be new to the conversation, this is not a snap decision. It's not something we came to quickly. It's not something that came up last week and we just decided to make a quick decision about it. So I'm just kind of putting that out there because I know people watch the recorded versions of our meetings later on and not everybody has all of the background information. But having said that, Superintendent Olson is going to give us another briefing with some slides on the school board start times proposal.
Yeah, just a very, it's not going to be an extensive presentation tonight, but it is going to be a recap, a summary of what we have done. So this started back last fall when we introduced this at a coffee chat along with a parent survey, kind of that dipstick type of approach of what would you be thinking of a school start time change. And the reason why we brought that up is because this community, especially our teaching staff and our administrative staff, have asked for that several times over the last about eight years for sure. I can testify to those amount of years because that's when Dr. Johnson spearheaded a task force that did some extensive research, and in that time it did not pass. They stuck with the same times, but at that time they were trying to just flip the times where the high school and middle school would go start their day at 9 o'clock in the morning. And that wasn't very favorable to students, families, and staff members. So we were able to start, like I said, with that dipstick approach, and then we started working with parents and students on a task force. After that task force, and we really brought in multiple different stakeholders, whether it be an instructional specialist to really make sure that we're using our time wisely when we're here at school, whether it be a local doctor, we had a regional doctor, we had research that was provided from the University of Minnesota because that was where the research had been done the longest, almost 40 years. After the task force, we really worked with administration. Administration, is this something that you believe in? Because if administration doesn't believe in, it wasn't going to be something that we could bring to fruition. We have buy-in from our secondary teachers. We have buy-in from our elementary teachers, and they are all wanting something that is what they believe is better conducive to the the rhythms of children's learning, of when they learn best. And then after we started to work with those stakeholders and really zero in on specific times, we realized that our times were getting pretty darn good. And so Gavin, if you move ahead, we were really able to not have a difference of an hour and 40 minutes between secondary and elementary, but we're really able to start our day at 7:50 at the elementaries, and then our secondary is at 8:15. So that condensed approach was something that had never been able to be accomplished before. But I really have to take my hat off to our transportation partners who researched some different types of transportation methods, including what they brought to us as a hybrid method. And the hybrid method is just really looking at basically a single tier busing approach, which if you would have asked people on the task force if we could have all started at the same time, that was something that they were actually really intrigued at the very beginning. But it's been something that we haven't been able to do in this district because of cost, number of buses and bus drivers that it would take. In this type of hiring shortage, it would not be something that we could do as a overarching approach, but a hybrid approach where some of your buses will be single tier, some of your buses will remain double tier, but we'll be able to work within the confines of the current contract. So after you see these times here, the times really offer that unified approach to our district. While they might not work for every family, what we do know is that the amount of time that secondary students, either on the front end or the back end, are not available to potentially do daycare, this schedule, with your condensed times being closer, offers a more opportunity for those older students to offer supervision for their younger students. So these times, we do believe that we're bringing forth the best times that have been able to be brought forth to the community in at least a decade. When you see difference of minutes on the board, I sometimes there's some misconception that are you reducing your number of minutes per the school year? And we are not reducing. We have instructional minutes to meet. We will continue to meet those. We have instructional days to meet. We will continue to meet those. We are not, as a district, in favor of starting before Labor Day, and we are not in favor of going the week after the first week of June. We believe instruction is best on the front end because that's when students have less of that summer desire. So we will have some calendaring to do. But calendaring happens every year. It's something that those of us who have been administrators in this district, we've seen anywhere from 165 school days to 172 school days. So there's always a range depending on holidays, depending on approach that a administrative group, a group of leaders working in buildings, what they see as a need for our students. So calendaring, you really should look at the needs of the students first, and that's what we will immediately do. If this school time passes, we will put together a couple staff members from every building, a couple parents, and we will knock out calendaring for the right reasons, and that is our students. And so I'm right now just reminding you of all that went into it, and I can talk to this community recap page, but I've hit a lot of the items, but I do want to highlight just a couple more. Please know that, since the school board has taken that nice, slow approach to this big decision, we still would have a year as administrators to look at our schedules, look at our credits, look at our supervision before school, look at with Magic Adventures to make sure that we have our students having the most opportunities for daycare. And we know that there are challenges for families. Some of those challenges are, worry about bus rides. And I want to tell you that once we found out that we have some students on buses longer than an hour. I don't think any of you are particularly in favor of that. And I think that is our job as a school board, and me being equally as big of a part as that, is to make sure that we work with Hoagland to problem solve through the routing phase, to make sure that we don't have school students on the bus for longer than what we are stating to parents, which is that 50 minutes to 60-minute bus length, bus ride time. So we wouldn't be here today if we didn't think this was good for kids. We think this is very good for kids. It has medical benefits with sleep algorithms of your older students naturally sleeping, wanting to sleep longer in the day, naturally staying up later at night. And then the algorithms of sleep patterns of your younger students who by study would show that they're up earlier than your older students. And I know there's always exceptions, but we believe that we're making the best schedule bringing forward to you tonight that take care of the most students that we can in a positive light. And we will continue to work amazingly hard try and find any of those trouble spots and make sure that if this was voted yes, parents are going to feel heard throughout the next year for us to problem solve with. And we would kick off the 24-25 school year with these start times, but also kick off the 24-25 school year in an amazing fashion. So I bring forth that recap tonight. I've enjoyed the community engagement, whether they were in-person town halls, whether they were videos, and we're ready with the next video to go out, whether it passes, or we would be ready for the next video to go out, whether it does not pass. We are ready to take care of our families like we always do.
Gavin, can I ask you to please put the times from that back up so that everyone is clear what it is that we're voting on? So as the process unfolded, we did have numerous choices that we could have looked at for start times. And this is the collection of times that we're voting on this evening. So all of the other ones that we may have looked at earlier are not on the table. We're just voting this collection of start times up or down, to make that clear to everyone. So this is an action item. Do I have a motion to bring forth the times as listed?
I make a motion.
Motion brought by Jeff Hegley,
Second.
seconded by Melissa Curtis. All those in favor of approving the times as listed on the overhead projection there for the beginning in the 24-25 school year and beyond, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Moving on to second reading of policies. Superintendent Olson.
All right. Second reading of policies, as Board Chair Zebarth mentioned at the beginning, there are 4 policies that we've pulled just for some small minor work, and they will be brought forth back as soon as possible. We have some specific deadlines in some of them, and so we will get them back in front of our full board and community as soon as possible. Working hard on them. So the ones that are here tonight for second reading are Policy 419, Tobacco-Free Environment, Policy 424, License Status, Policy 425, Staff Development, Policy 506, Student Discipline, Policy 507, Corporal Punishment and Prone Restraint, Policy 513, Student Promotion, Retention, and Program Design, Policy 515, Protection and Privacy of Pupil Records. Policy 532, Use of Peace Officers and Crisis Teams are all ready for second reading.
So this is an action item. Do I have a motion to bring those policies forth as listed?
So moved.
Motion made by Jamie Sieben, seconded by Casey Root. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. I want to just add a little comment for the public and for the admin. As we move forward, we know that the way that they've been listed on the agenda is somewhat confusing when we list the old policy, the revised policy, and some of the MSBA recommended policy changes, and we're going to be changing how we list that moving forward. We also have had just an enormous list of policies that we've brought forth this summer, and thankfully we've gotten a little bit ahead on that, so we'll be working on that, and then these will be in more manageable, smaller chunks as we progress through the school year. So just want to let people know that in the future, this is going to look a little bit different on the agenda. And so now we're down to item number 9, adjourning, and that is an action item.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Melissa Curtis to adjourn, seconded by Casey Root. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0, and we are adjourned at 7:04 p.m. Thank you, everyone.